Hello, everyone. Is anybody there? Hello, anybody out there? Hello. Let's talk about your lockdown. How do you feel about being locked down? And how do you feel about this coronavirus? Do you think it's a conspiracy theory? Do you think it was planned? Was it a psyop? I'd like to hear from you. What do you think? Chime in on the topic tonight. How do you feel about the lockdown? Welcome. What say you? I'm not very happy about being locked down. Well, first of all, I'm not happy that because of this, uh, it's taking. Uh, I'll put it this way: that I got laid off from my position, from my job, and that you know, by no fault of my own, all of us has been fired from our position. Told our employers could close up, lock up, and that's it. I can't imagine how my boss must be feeling. So if you have anything to say, type it right in the chat box, chat room, and we can get going. Okay, I see someone in the chat. I have one person, actually two people, and waiting for your response. Want to know how you feel, what's going on with you, what's going on with your life, what part of the world or country that you're in. Um, are you domestic person in the United States? Doesn't make any sense, did I? Do you live locally? Do you live in the country? Tell me what's going on. Don't be shy. You can speak up if you like. Tell me what you're thinking of. I see you. Hello, 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 hello. Let's have a nice conversation. A good talk. You're gone. Goodbye. I see you're back again. I hate that. I hate to have a one-sided conversation, but I guess I'll with you even though you're not responding. I live here in New York, and the city is virtually
right here. Right, and that's where we, as citizens, we hold the most powers in those local officials, the county commissioners or the mayor, or however your town or village may be set up. That's where we hold the most power. That's where we have the most access, or at least we're supposed to have the most access to our elected officials, is right there in that local level. Because a lot of times that local level is a springboard to bigger and greater things in their political aspirations of becoming maybe a state rep or a state senator before they're able to leap toward a governorship or even a representative to the U.S. Congress and things like that. So controlling that local level is so important. And our enemies that absolutely hate this country have figured out if they fund these local elections, they're able to wield a much more control much quicker in local elections than they could federally.
That's really scary that they're learning. We're learning about how we operate. I mean, you saw this with, during the shelter in place, the very beginning of it. When people were still wondering before counties went and started enacting the shelter in place, before it got widespread, you had a rumor spread that Trump was going to lock down the entire country with martial law. We're talking about the beginning of March, okay? It was actually a text message reportedly sent by Chinese agent. Many Americans got a text message on their phone from China, Chinese spies, that said Trump is going to cause a lockdown martial law. And our intelligence agencies, oh no, was an attempt by China to cause a panic in this country. So they're learning about us. They're learning how to access us in different ways. It's not just Twitter, all that talk about, Russia, this kind of thing. Well, it's also, that's the real threat. And it's not Twitter. They're sending us text messages. They're hacking into our drones. They're hacking into the local officials, local governments, and getting into elections, funding elections, I guess. I didn't hear about that. That's crazy. China is maybe the biggest threat to liberty that we ever potentially have ever faced, going back to World War II.
Yeah, absolutely. Ever since we've allowed them to become a world trading partner, and they've been able to do the things they've been able to do through their communist regime over there, the way they've manipulated their currency, the way they take companies and give them trade secrets for opening up factories over there. They have been at a full scale Cold War with the rest of the world. They have been building up as other countries have not. And the one person I believe we have him in the White House right now that recognized that was President Trump long ago, that China is not a friendly ally, but rather should be treated as a adversary, because that's what they have in mind. Whenever you have a country laying low for so long, and they don't allow X, Y, and Z to happen, and they're what's truly going on in that country? What are they building up? What are they working toward? As we know, they made a bunch of islands in the South China Sea down there to expand their territory and their reach. And so, we continue to see China aggressively pushing the limits, and it's going to eventually come to a head. And I think this is one of those moments that our country should be able to galvanize behind an effort to bring American manufacturing back home, to focus on restoring our infrastructure, restoring our roadways, our bridges, and our vulnerable electric grid, and all those areas. That's something that we should be working toward the country, because you better know China's already done that in their country. They've used all that money and everything like that to shore up a lot of those areas that we as a nation are a little bit weaker in, because we're too busy funding the rest of the world to do other things.
Right. The idea that we have to get off of Chinese manufacturing, it's kind of similar to the situation with the Middle East that we are in. When we're so reliant on Middle East oil, and you saw us constantly having the Middle East, who the hell cares about the Middle East right now, we can say, because by and large, we're energy independent. At least we don't have to depend on the Middle East for oil like we did before. So now, similar situation with China, we find ourselves, it's all classified. But if you had to ask me, if I had to put a guess on it, a lot of our medication, antibiotics, a lot of cancer drugs, a lot of things people are on. If we piss off China too much, what stops them from saying, sorry, we need to double check this before we send it your way. Maybe there's a quality control issue. Now they don't send us our life-saving medication, and they can use it as hostage. They don't even have to say that. We know they can hold things against us as hostage.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Dan. We put ourselves, our past elected leaders have put our country at a very vulnerable position when it comes to things like that. And that is something where we need, as a nation, to galvanize behind and recognize an outside threat where another country can hold us hostage with medications. Just as an example, as you use, as medication as an example, life-saving medication that they may produce or whatever, now where our people can't get it because the supply is over there. This is the stuff that many Americans slept for. We weren't awake. Many Americans are not awake, and they don't realize these things. And then when it happens, they're like, "Oh, how did this happen? Why did this president let this happen?" And they pin it on the guy that's in office, when actually this thing has been occurring now for decades.
Yeah, it's a long process that led up to this point. You got Obama, you look at Bush, you look at everybody who went before, right? Started with Nixon, I guess.
Yeah,
who opened it up. And you can blame Nixon for saying
Kissinger. So
they had no idea. I mean, they had no idea. But China then began to prove its self as an adversary over time. I think that at this point, we just began to look the other way. And it's like there's too convenient of a trading partner. And so we're like, well, maybe they're allied with Iran just for fun. Maybe they're, Venezuela, just,
it's all about positioning, right?
Like we kept making excuses, right? They were secretly aligning with all of our enemies. Yeah, we didn't even know.
And when it comes down, it's because they don't care. They care about the power, but they don't care about their own people. So they just throw these people into these factories because why? They have 1.3 billion of them, and they're able to do that. And so they appease our companies with cheap labor, and our companies make massive profits. Why we still, they're paying these people pennies on the dollar, where they're making hand over fist profit on it and selling it to us a pair of Nikes or something for $150, where it was made down in China for like $2. Who's the suckers?
One of the problems, yeah. Oh, and also something that needs to be talked about is, this idea that we're running out of meat, running out in the slaughterhouses have to be because people are getting sick, and Trump did the executive orders to keep these slaughterhouses open. A lot of these slaughterhouses in this country are owned by Chinese companies. So then they're owned by basically China, the Chinese government. And you got
Smithfield, I believe, was a huge one.
Have enough.
Was it Smithfield?
The problem is that, Smithfield.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't know. That is true. No, and I apologize because there's some connection stuff. So sometimes I might be interrupting you. I can't hear it as perfect. So I apologize about that. But the point I was trying to make, though, is that the idea of the work conditions inside these Chinese-owned slaughterhouses are horrible by all accounts. I mean, so much worse than anything else, even because we don't have a lot of inspectors. You just assume an American slaughterhouse is going to be run by American standards. But if it's a Chinese-owned slaughterhouse, they're running it by Chinese standards, and we don't have the compliance officers. And so you got people and also many of them, right? They're not American citizens working at this place, so it's okay. I mean, wink, wink. They're not Americans, so just we don't need to worry about protections or labor laws or that kind of thing. So the huge problem, if we had American citizens working in these places, you'd have more protection. You'd have, this bad illegal immigration kind of making it worse. This situation worse, exacerbating this problem.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We're coming down to the home stretch here, Dan. Real quick, just want to hit you with a couple rapid fire questions real quick before we kind of end the show. And I wanted to kind of circle back to the Biden. You alluded back to the Biden allegations and things like that. Do you think he survives any of this? Do you think he becomes the nominee? Because there's still even more rumors still flying around out there that he still may not be the nominee come the DNC. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, will he be alive? That's the question. Knock on wood. Oh, because every day sicker and sicker being pulled up in there, and I don't wish any ill will. But I do feel like the Democrats picked a real loser and put the American people really in a bad space. Even if you love Trump, you got to root for a good game, like a good game. You want to watch a good game where sides, and the best team wins. That's what I want. If you have somebody like Biden, he's a flawed candidate. You're not going to get the best from this country. You're not going to get the best election that you could have had. You're not going to get the best free flow of ideas. I saw Hillary Clinton with Joe Biden on CNN, and she looked like she was auditioning for auditioning for candidate nomination, the role of the nomination after something happens to Biden, because he looks sick. I mean, the guy looks out of it mentally, but also he looks like weak. Worried about him, I have ability politically and all health-wise, physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I just wanted to address something in the chat real quick. The people that were talking about the language and not using profane language, I don't use that language here on this channel. It's because that's my values. And I don't like the chat using it either, because it can be flagged by YouTube itself and demonetize certain aspects of it. So my mods are very, very dutiful to ensure the chat is clean. And many of our people here respect my views on that. So if you don't respect that view, or if you feel like you cannot be here because you want to express yourself profanely, then you may leave. Nobody's holding you hostage here. So you may go if you like. I would love for you to stick around if you like to be part of the conversation, but be very respectful toward everybody else. Respect my values. I respect your values. But here on my channel, if you want to have your own YouTube channel, you want to sit there and profane cuss on that channel, go right ahead. Go make your own YouTube channel, and you can do that yourself there. But here on this channel, that is my view. And so again, if you don't like that, then there's a door. So nobody's holding you back in here. All right. So there we go. Mods, have at it. Yeah, absolutely, Dan. I agree with your point wholeheartedly on that. It's what you were just saying. And, the way that Biden's going to come out of this, I don't think it's going to be good, because even now you have the New York Times writing about articles asking the DNC to do more of a search into Biden's past, even though the New York Times is the same outlet that wrote an article about how the FBI need to investigate Brett Kavanaugh. Why don't we go ahead and step it up a notch and have the FBI go ahead and and sort this out, right? I don't think Biden. I think Biden
Francie,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did you see the Jon Stewart clip where Jon Stewart is showing Biden as a groping everybody? It's from 2015. I mean,
Yeah.
Jon Stewart, the liberal guy. They've been talking about this for so many years. The weird, creepy stuff that Biden does.
It's a well-known secret. It's not even a secret. It's just well-known. It's well-documented. I mean, you can go to C-SPAN and see half the stuff that he's done during the times when he swears in the senators when he was VP, right? You see how fresh he gets with many of the ladies and young ladies at that. And the way he interacts with them is totally inappropriate, especially for somebody of his status. And I think it's inappropriate for any man to interact that way with children and women. That's not your wife. If my wife caught me sniffing some lady's hair, she probably wouldn't be my wife much longer. And let me say thank you.
Weird.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, American Joe. I appreciate you super chatting. That brings me say what you want, face the consequences. Trust me, absolutely.
Anyway, I'd like to talk with anyone who's out there about their lockdown. What are they going through? Well, first of all, where they're at, what state, what city, what country for that matter, and how do they feel? I'd like to hear from you right away.
And these clips aren't like 20-second clips. They go on for I think some of them have been like 30-minute clips with so many instances where this guy is just being fondling and just being very inappropriate with ladies and young girls. It's just very, very disturbing. Even some of the stories he told on the campaign trail, and it's just not very good. And even when he talked about when Mika pressed him on the MSNBC interview the other day, when he pressed him about his papers being locked away in the Delaware University, and he was talking about their sensitive stuff in those papers because certain world leaders he spoke with and could be used against this campaign. Well, dude, tell us about those conversations you have with world leaders. Because I knew you were going to when they met at the GA a couple years ago. So, yeah, please tell us what they scored.